So, you guys, I wanted to introduce the membership to Brian Moore for our younger membership who might not be familiar with him, but I think most of us Group Ones are more than familiar with Brian. So,
Thank you.
thank you for coming in. And I just kind of wanted to go into your start in the business and how we met and, what's taken place in your career that you've seen in the business and led you to this decision.
Okay. I started in the business back in the mid 80s, I'd say. I was coming off a rodeo career and I was basically forced into it. I have a lot of family in the business and I was told I had to get a real job. So I started working back then with Billy Arter and work back then you had to get 30 days consecutive and blah blah blah, and it was a lot harder. You'd get 29 days and they'd lay you off. So I was still doing I was doing stunt work at the time because of the rodeo career. I kind of fell into that, and I was still working transpo. Over the years I've made some just amazing relationships with our industry, drivers, wranglers, stuntmen. It's a great industry. Lately not so much. Lately,
Right.
last 3 years, I think we've seen what I've never really seen before in all the years I've been doing this. It's been pretty tough. It's been tough on my family.
Right. Now,
Um,
now your family, how many members, union Teamster members are in your family?
there's myself, my wife, my brother, my son, my daughter-in-law.
So, pretty much the
Yeah,
whole family
and then I
is.
have other family members in other venues of the industry. So
Okay. Okay.
yeah,
And how many Group Ones and Twos are kind of spaced out inside of the family?
I'm a Group One. Everybody else right now is a Group Two.
So you have
I
a whole house
I
full
have
of
a
Group
house full
Twos.
of people that
Right.
have been wondering what happened.
Right.
Where did our union
And how do
go?
you explain this to them? Because I don't feel
Uh,
like we've seen
I
this reaction before in our
I
careers.
don't know because I've never seen it.
Yeah.
Like I had said to you earlier, I told them rock bottom apparently has a basement
Right.
because we're seeing it.
Right.
Um, we're going on 3 years of no work
Right.
for members that have paid their dues. They earn the right. They're losing their medical, their homes.
One thing that kind of frustrates me is I hear some members say that this is not a career. In my 25 years, this has been a career. I've never
Yeah,
I've never heard that statement, and I know there's times where people have had to get other jobs and fill in gaps, but to say this is not a career for people, I think
yeah.
it blows me away.
I think they say that when you get in, they all say, "Hey, kid, this is a part-time job." I think that's a scapegoat for the union.
Right.
Personally, that's how I've always felt. It's like, what do you mean? I've been doing this now going on 40 years, not just in Teamsters, but as a stuntman in other areas. This is a career.
It is. Yeah.
And for you to tell me it's a part-time job, it's just a scapegoat for you to do your job in a sense. Your union, we're not a hiring hall, but we are a union, and that union should be working continuously towards keeping its membership working and productively working.
Right. And
Um,
protecting the jobs that we have and actively trying to get and gain more jobs.
yeah, I mean, I maybe we missed the signs. I don't want to point fingers at people or things, but I think there was a lot more that could have been done over the last 3 years that maybe we failed to look at, or we were preoccupied with other venues that we were more interested in. But keeping the work here in California, in the U.S., we didn't make the mark. We
Right.
failed,
Right. We did
and
fail.
now we're paying for it. What the causes of that are, you can talk for hours on.
Right. And I'm
Um,
not, and I think the membership is tired of the blame game and they want to
yeah,
start hearing solutions, and I'm open to that. But I also feel like the membership needs to understand that the failures of uh, not just this administration, but past administrations have been going on for so long
yeah,
that the fix is going to be small gains
yeah,
that not just one person is going to be able to do. That
yeah,
this has to be a union led coalition.
It has to be a
We need-
union-led, multi-union-led coalition, because we're going to need, we're one union and we're working, they're working with Newsom, they're working with Trump, they're, the EUC, all that, the Independent Film Producers Association. Everybody, there needs to be some sort of think tank, because even with what we currently have, unfortunately, it's still not enough.
Right.
It's not going to do the job. It's not going
Right.
to keep it here.
I mean, when I worked for Will Smith, Will's people always said to me, somehow you always know what's going on before we do. And these were producers, actors, and stuff. The Teamsters have the best feel for what's happening in the industry. And we know where the shortcomings of especially the tax incentive are.
Mm-hmm.
Above the line needs to be qualified.
Yep.
We need to get rid of the lottery system.
Absolutely.
So even though we got this monetary gain in the tax incentive, I still feel like there's this tremendous yardage that we have to go to convey all of the roadblocks that are being presented to the studios.
Yep.
And we have to continually battle that. We can't just say we got this increase to $750, we're done.
Yeah, it's a continual effort,
right.
Because if we're going to sustain as an industry, we have to make it viable for a producer to say, I want to film in California, I want to film in the US, I want to film in Atlanta.
Right.
Right now, it's cheaper to not do that.
Right.
It's cheaper to go somewhere else. And you had the spaghetti western days, you had, every era has its exodus. But this time it seems different. Feels permanent.
It's different.
Feels permanent.
Yeah. And I don't want to say permanent, because I'm not that. I think that we start small and we get some wins under our belt. Mm-hmm. Seems like we've just experienced loss after loss.
Yeah.
I want to start to see wins. Every job is a valuable job at this point. Yep. I don't care if it's a forklift job or a grade all job or a van that's going to pick up costumes. We should be protecting every job right now.
Yeah.
Because there's members that are starving and losing homes and losing cars. So even one job is a valuable job right now. So we need to start getting some wins under our belts. And I just, for the past couple of years, I don't see many wins.
And I think they're coming too little too late.
Right.
There's only two things this industry needs right now. That's filming in the US and filming in LA. That's what's going to save us.
Right. And I don't want to exclude New Mexico, because they're a part of our
the US in general.
Right.
But right now it's a desert.
Right.
It's a wasteland.
So I think in our discussions we should also say New Mexico, California, and Oklahoma, because they're part of 399 now too. But besides those territories we just named, I look at and I've worked in Georgia, Atlanta, Louisiana, Pittsburgh, New York. I have friends out there, but those are still our competition.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get those jobs that are scheduled to go to those places, and I want to bring them back here to 399. That's the goal.
Yeah.
And I feel like the slate that we're trying to put together, all of us need to have that mindset of, first off, we need to start with small wins, protecting the jobs that are available, and getting our members back to work, as many as we can. And then we start to tackle those other territories and say, here's why they're getting a $300 million feature. We need to express that to the California legislature and say, here's why we lost a $300 million feature.
Yeah.
And we need to start steering them to make the changes so that what they're going there for, they can get here.
Yeah.
We have to start winning in this local, and we're on a losing streak, and I don't see it changing, especially if we continue down the same path with our leadership. Yeah. And I hate to say that bluntly to the membership, but we've seen where this path has led, and it's not going to change unless we decide to make a change.
And we need clarity. We need a lot more clarity of, I'm not going to get into it now, but certain rules, the 13 Western, all that garbage.
Right. And I think
we need clarity into what is it, what are we guaranteed, is the language still there?
Right.
And is it productive? Right now, what is it, 5 people?
Right. 5 people on side letter, I forget, I believe it's side letter 6 or 7. I'll have to confirm on that.
Yeah. And that's something that I'm saying. There's only 2 things going to fix this.
Right.
Incentives in having
and
more
contract
power.
negotiations and changing that side letter so that it's not just 5 people. This is all we do.
I mean,
So
I remember when 30 drivers went out of town,
right.
You know, and it was great. But
right.
then we started letting, and I don't mean this derogatorily towards any of these people, but we started letting other states build their little union up, and then we started giving them more power, and we basically, through common practice, gave away a lot.
Right.
And we need to find, where are we there? What's the rule there? Let's really explain it to us, explain it to the membership, and
be open with it.
Yeah,
don't hide it behind, this legal jargon. Let's bring the lawyers out. Let's find out what's in the contract. Let's clearly state to the membership, this is what we had, this is what we have, and this is what we've lost.
Yeah.
Because past practices come into play.
It does. Comes into play very heavily.
So I'm really excited to start developing this slate and presenting it to the membership, because this is not just a dictatorship. I'm trying to bring people together that can stand up and say, if I screw up, you have the right to come to me and say, you screwed up. You need to apologize to the member, tell them where you screwed up, own it, and then let's fix the problem if it's fixable, and then, continue to move forward.
Yeah, and no member should ever feel like they can't walk in that office and be treated as an individual, as a teamster.
Right.
We're all teamsters. I'm not going to get into my personal viewpoints on things, but I think we've been we keep chopping our union up in little increments. We're teamsters. I don't care who you are, what color you are, who you sleep. I don't care. We are teamsters, and we need to remember that. We all have to work for each other.
And I think that's the first step of correcting the course that we're on, is that we start to get that unity back.
Yeah.
And we start looking out for each other. And we start saying that it's not about me, it's about all of us.
Yeah.
And we're making decisions. I don't have a problem with the coordinators. I want the coordinators to do right by the membership, and the membership to make the coordinators successful in Los Angeles so that more work wants to come here.
Yeah.
These are those wins. These are those small wins.
And there's still going to be work in these other areas. They're not going to become, deserts, but we need work in LA. If we can't sustain LA, then we're screwed.
And the more members that we have working, the better off the retirement plan is, our health and welfare, our retirees who are depending on the funds, to carry them through to the end, the end of their life.
It's going to be me very soon.
Right. And the next generation of Teamsters that got in under the COVID rush, they want to continue, and I want to hand off a successful, prosperous local to that group of group twos that are going to depend on this job into 2030, 2040, 2050.
Yep.
And that, I feel, is the goal of us building this slate and trying to reach out to you guys to say we need to change. So
and see if you agree with us.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we do. I mean,
right.
I did not really want to do this, but I feel like I started looking, I could retire in a year and be like, I'm done. But I said, I don't know if I can do that. After looking at what just happened, I'm like, no, I want to go out and try to have done something to make it better for my
kid,
back. for my family that's still doing this.
Right.
And hopefully we can.
Right.
And hopefully
I'm glad you did make that decision, because walking this path alone, which I have been for quite a bit of time, is a monumental task.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have someone like yourself coming and saying, I'm standing with you.
Yeah.
Because I can't fight this all by myself. And we need a team to fight this.
And I think a lot of people, sorry who hears, but they're scared.
Right.
A lot of our membership is scared of our leadership.
Right.
And I don't think that should be the case.
Right. I agree.
So
I think any member, whether they disagree with the choices the leadership makes, should be able to voice that opinion of the leadership and not have their job put in jeopardy, not have their family, well-being put in
Yep.
jeopardy, and I think that's where we're at, and I don't agree with it either.
Yeah.
So
I think we can do better.
we can do better.
So.
Thank you.